Hello, hello. So welcome back to Facebook Live. Today we're going to be talking about, is the WordPress market shrinking? So I've heard a lot of people talking about the WordPress market shrinking and thought that that might be, something to talk about. Like, what parts are shrinking? Where's the sweet spot? Where do you want to be if you want to see the high-paying clients? And what does it even mean? Is it really shrinking? Like, what are the stats? So I actually did a little bit of research to prepare for today, and so I've got some stats on how WordPress is doing, how does it compare to other platforms, and where do you want to be if you want to find clients that are actually willing to pay respectable rates for your work. So before we get into that, first I want to thank everybody for being part of the Double Stack group here at Building High Value WordPress Sites. And if you want to get notifications for things, make sure that you click on the notifications button so that you enable notifications for this channel. And that way, every time we post something or we have a stat of some sort, you'll get a notification about that. And also, if you want to follow what we're doing here, but you're not always on Facebook all the time and you want to get email notifications, head over to doublestack.net and you'll be able to connect with us over there by way of email. You can subscribe to the email list, and we'll be broadcasting out video replays of these Facebook Live events as well as other things as well. So, all right, so man, there's so much to go over. There's so much to go over about all of this. I got so much to say. So let's start out talking about WordPress stats. Like, is WordPress really shrinking? Where is it growing? Where is it shrinking? What are the problems? So I did some research, and I went over to, I got the two sources for my research are Built With, which is a website which helps you figure out what kind of technology is running behind a particular site. They also have a lot of aggregate stats on things. And also W3 Techs was another source for all of this stuff. So the right off the bat, let's just see if we can figure out how many, I wanted to know how many websites in the whole world are there? And according to what they say over there, it's about 1.8 billion websites in the world. So I figured I needed to figure that out in order to understand, what does it mean to say that X% of the websites run this versus that, and how many websites does that really mean? Well, 1.8 billion, that's our baseline. That's how many websites apparently there are as of January 2018. So with that in mind, WordPress, as of January 2018, WordPress is powering 30% of all the websites on the internet. 30%, that's huge. That's a huge number of websites. And yeah, I've got my notes here. I'm trying to sort them all out so I can see what you guys are saying and I can see the notes at the same time. All right, so 30% of all the websites on the earth are powered by WordPress as of 2018. And that's all the websites. So out of the websites that are running a content management system, a CMS, then 60% of all the websites running on a CMS are powered by WordPress. 60%, that's huge. That's 2 out of 3 almost. So what does that mean? So if there's 1.8 billion websites in the world, 30% of that is like, I have here, it's like about 541 million websites. I mean, it's a huge number of websites powered by WordPress. WordPress is clearly crushing it when it comes to how people spin up their websites. So to put it in perspective, number 2 is Joomla. Joomla is the second most popular platform after WordPress. And while WordPress is powering 30% of the websites, Joomla is powering 3.1% of websites. And about 6.3% of the CMS market. So WordPress 30%, and then place number 2 is Joomla at 3.1%. And then, but I've been hearing a ton about Wix and like other like free or really low cost do-it-yourself kind of website builders. So what about Wix? Is Wix really crushing it here? Or where do they stand in the mix of things? Well, Wix has 0.5% of all the websites run on Wix, and about 1% of the CMS market. So that's even below where Joomla stands. But yet, the interesting thing about Wix is there's a lot of growth there. There's a lot of growth with that platform. Now, on top of that, before we get to the growth part, is it just people with kind of small, low scale websites? Are those the ones? Are those the people running WordPress, or are like upper end people? Like, what about the more popular websites? What do they run? So according to this thing called Quantcast, the top 10,000 websites, out of the top 10,000, WordPress holds 26.1% of that market share. So out of as far as traffic goes, the top 10,000 websites that are on the internet, WordPress is crushing it at 26.1%. That's huge. And then out of the top 100,000, WordPress still holds a 23.7% market share. So clearly, WordPress is the number one way that people are spinning up their websites. But what about growth? So the real question here, and the questions that I was fielding over the past few days, is what about the growth? Is it okay? Yeah, WordPress is huge, it's growing, but is it actually growing, or is it actually shrinking? So let's talk about that for a second. So in 2014, so I just mentioned that as of January 2018, WordPress hit the 30% market share for all the websites running on the internet. Well, at 2014, it was just 21%. I say just as if that's a small number, but it's definitely less than 30%. So 21% in 2014. 2015, it bumped up to 23.3%. 2016, 25. So 2016 was the year that we bumped over the 25% market share. And in fact, I remember I was actually sitting in WooConf with Joey, another guy that I work with here, and he and I we had flown out to San Francisco, and we're going to the Woo conference there. I was actually presenting there about e-commerce and payment security and things like that, and who cares about these numbers? That info means nothing to us. Well, I wanted to point out these numbers because in a minute here, I'm going to be talking about the fact that it's not that WordPress is shrinking. It's that a certain segment of the WordPress economy is shrinking, and how do you get out of that section and into a better section? And furthermore, I also like to just point out that WordPress is really crushing it. And so in 2016, that's when it bumped over the 25.6, the 25% mark. And then 2017 it was up to 27%, and now 2018 it's 30%. So tons of people are using WordPress, and it's growing. And just as a sake of comparison, from 2017 to 2018, the Joomla market actually decreased. I was talking to somebody here in the group that had switched over from Joomla to WordPress, and I guess he was contributing to the to the decrease from 3.4% to 3.1%. So what about Wix? What about Wix? Everybody's talking about, Wix is stealing all my clients. I'm losing, all these clients to Wix. Everybody just wants to be able to build their own website themselves. And from 2017 to 2018, Wix actually grew by 67%, and Squarespace grew by 80%. So, those stats are really interesting because while Wix and Squarespace are a small percentage of the market overall, they're seeing a lot of growth. And there's certainly good reason for that because it's really easy to spin up a website and it's really low cost. So what about the WordPress market? Why are WordPress consultants and developers having a hard time getting new clients? Which WordPress developers are having a hard time? Who's struggling and who's not? And I have a colleague who actually runs a company in Florida who they do like movie production and so forth. They do all kinds of video stuff, make kind of indie movies and things like that. And they run all their stuff as far as their marketing and their promotion, their front end stuff off of WordPress. And he calls me up and he says, hey, we're looking to hire some WordPress developers. But they weren't going to hire freelancers or just consultants. They wanted to actually hire employees. And so that makes a difference because if you're a freelancer or a consultant, then those jobs aren't really available to you anymore because a lot of these people that are really serious about running WordPress for their own businesses, they're actually hiring full-time WordPress developers. So as freelancers or consultants like that, in small agencies, they you're not going to be seeing those jobs. Like the high end of the WordPress market is changing from outsourcing the development to actually hiring full-time employees. And so that's a bit of an issue for folks looking for WordPress jobs. And likewise, they got another comment here. It says these numbers do matter, according to Steve. Greater market share means more users. Yeah, absolutely agree with Steve. I think the numbers make a really big difference, because if if we were seeing that the overall numbers are shrinking, that would really raise some eyebrows as to what's going on about the WordPress world. But we're not seeing that the numbers are shrinking. We're seeing that the numbers are growing, and so I'm trying to reconcile here. So with the numbers growing, why are people struggling to get clients? And which people, which clients are the ones that we're not closing anymore with our WordPress work? And so one of the segments is this high-end segment, where people need full-time WordPress consultants and developers on staff. And then the other section too is the low end of the market. Like, in fact, right before we started this group, one of the things that really tweaked my melon, so to speak, that really caught my attention in a negative way, was I actually saw somebody advertising to build WordPress websites for $50. $50. They'd spin up a WordPress website. And I'm like, why? How is anybody supposed to compete with people spinning up WordPress websites for $50? And like, if you look at the job boards, you'll see like all of these really low priced WordPress projects. And people are doing things for a really low price, which makes it really hard for anybody actually trying to make a living and run a business or run an agency or provide for themselves and their families. Spinning up $50 WordPress websites, it's just not going to work out. And so I remember back when, man, it might have been like 2002 or the early 2000s. I remember the first time I saw a WYSIWYG sort of login backend system where you could go in and you could like edit like the content for your site. It wasn't WordPress yet. I don't even think WordPress was around yet. This is probably more than 15 years ago. And but I remember I was so excited when I saw this, because I was like, man, this is going to change the world. I'll be able to build websites for folks. They'll be able to log in and manage their own content. I remember like getting up from my chair and like walking around the office. I think I even called my brother and said, man, this is great. Here's how people can, really, really do some stuff. And for a while, that was a big, big deal. And then when WordPress first came out, and, you could have, could build these sites, and then people could, post their own blog posts, put their own pictures on pages and change things. I mean, it totally made the concept of building a website that clients had the ability to at least semi-run on their own. That was like a really big deal. But now what we're seeing is, things like Wix and Squarespace and these other lower cost do-it-yourself options, they're doing that better than WordPress does, because even it doesn't really matter who you are, you have to be able to have some degree of technical competence just to get a WordPress site going. Like installing a theme, installing plugins. That's beyond what the average business owner wants to do. They just want to log in and make a website and move on with their day. And so I think what we're seeing with regard to the low end of the WordPress market, we're seeing people being able to just do it themselves without having to hire a consultant. Even WordPress do-it-yourself people, like people that aren't actually like coders or WordPress gurus or anything like that. Those people, in fact, with what we're seeing at Cart66, we're getting more and more clients that are not really agencies, or they're not WordPress developers. They're just people that want to be able to spin stuff up on their own. We got exactly, aren't low-end WordPress projects easily handled by Wix and Squarespace? Why bother? Yeah, I totally agree. From KMac Savvy, he says that. And yeah, that's one of the points that I'm making here. It's like if all you're doing is just putting up a website, then you're not providing enough value. What's happening is like Wix and Squarespace and those guys, they've really put together a system where folks that don't know anything about the internet can log in and put up a website. And if that's all that you're doing, then the value is just not there for people to go hire you to do that for them when they can do it themselves. But I also know that I would almost rather not even have a website than have a Wix website. I've worked with Wix before, and I don't know how many people have ever built a Wix website, but one of the things that I find the most irksome about Wix websites is that you don't actually have web pages. Like the whole thing is like this JavaScript app where like as you change the pages or whatever, it looks like you're changing pages, but it's really just this one giant blob of website, and it just makes it really hard to like do SEO, or everything is just not good. But the websites look pretty, and there's words on the pages, and if that's all you want, like if you just want a website so that you can put a link on your business card or something, then that's totally fine. And so like what I don't know if I'm saying your name right, but what K-Mac says is exactly right. Why bother with that? So like if you're the kind of person who's trying to sell like a $50 or even a $500 WordPress site, then it's gonna be hard for you, because why not just send your client to Wix to have them set things up? And in fact, on top of that, it's like I kind of feel like if I can't legitimately and authentically help somebody build their website, and I just kind of want their money more than I want to be able to help, it's like I don't take that kind of a job, because it's just you're not helping, and it, and you feel bad about it. And so so where are things growing? It's not at all. We just went through all these numbers, and we saw that WordPress is actually growing. And so where do you want to be if you want to make money from your WordPress site? Well, there are tons of clients out there that understand that they don't just want a website. They want more than like just a website, right? They want the whole package, right? They want e-commerce. They want to have an online store, or they want to do memberships and subscriptions, or like email marketing and email automation and sales funnels. And how do you do all of that? And like, what tools do you use for that? How do you put all that together? And if you're not able to think through that big picture and put and connect all those dots and put all that together, then then it's probably going to be hard for you to try to compete against Wix or whatever, these do-it-yourself options. And WordPress itself is even getting easier and easier, where we're seeing people try it themselves. And if you want to be a consultant, you have to bring to the table some kind of additional value here. And that's where things come into play with like e-commerce and like online stores. And if it doesn't necessarily have to be product driven, it could be like a membership to content, or like I was talking to a guy here in this group just last night about putting together a news website. And he said, well, I want to put this website out there, and it'll have news, and I'm going to monetize it by putting ads on the page. And so I suggested to him, hey, you know what? Why don't you also have an option for people to subscribe to the site to maybe hide the ads or something? And not so much that the benefit is hiding the ads, but I actually personally subscribe to a news website where I pay, I think I pay $7.99 per month. And like the benefit I get is it hides the ads, but like the reason that I joined was not to hide the ads. And sometimes I don't even bother log in, like if I'm on my phone or something, I don't feel like typing in my password or whatever, I'll just read the news and see the ads. But I wanted to join the website because I like what they're doing. I like the ads that I don't like the ads. I like the news, and I like the guys that are running the site and everything. And so I want to support them. And I mentioned about this guy that I'm working with, who's a concert pianist. I mean, he's phenomenal at playing the piano. And what he actually, he does these like improv sessions where he'll just play, like he'll sit down and just play something, like it's like something that's never been played before, and it makes it up. And he puts this music on his website, and he actually has the ability for like patrons to subscribe to his website to get access to this music. And people subscribe because they like him, they like what he's doing, they want to help. And he has an option for people to just do that. And so like if you've got a client and they say, hey, you know what, I'm a pianist and I want people to be able to subscribe to my website, you need to be able to say, yes, I can do that. Or if you have, if you have people that are coming to the website, you need to be able to connect with those people and know who they are and know what they want and know how to stay connected to them after they leave the website. That's a huge thing. If you're just, even driving traffic to the website isn't even enough these days. Anybody can drive traffic to it, but buy some Facebook ads, buy some Google Analytics, or not Google Analytics, Google AdWords or whatever, and you'll get traffic to the website. But you have to be able to do something with the traffic once it's there. So people are going to leave the website, and you need to be able to stay in touch with them. And so how do you do that? How do you know who they are? How do you know what aspect of the business that you're running that these clients are interested in? Like, what if you, for example, working with a dietitian, what if you go to her website, and like she helps people with like gluten-free living, but she also has weight loss stuff, and she also has like diabetic stuff. And it depends on who you are, as to what aspect of her business you're interested in. So like me, I'm gluten-free, right? I don't eat gluten stuff. So when I go to her website, I want to know, like, give me your best brownie recipe for, your best gluten-free brownie recipe. But if, she also has stuff about like, diabetes or whatever. And so like, I don't have that problem. So you don't want to be sending like a brownie recipe to a diabetic, right? That could be a big problem with sugar and so forth. And likewise, you don't want to be sending like non-gluten-free stuff to the gluten-free people. So you have to know who's who. You have to know, how do you get in touch with people? What do they want? What aspect of your business do they want? And how can you facilitate that conversation with them on an ongoing basis so that they know who you are, you know who they are, you know what they want, and you begin to develop this relationship over time where visitors become customers and customers become repeat customers. And you're going to find that when you are able to do that, you're actually going to be building what we call high-value WordPress websites, where it's not only high value for you because you're getting paid for your work, but it's high value for your client because your client is winning new customers, your client is helping people. It's a win-win for everybody, guys. It's a win-win for you because you're staying in business, doing something that really matters and is valuable to people. It's a win for your client because they're building a website, or you're giving them a website that's actually going to grow their audience and increase sales. And it's a win for their customers too, because people wouldn't be buying stuff from their website if it wasn't helping them with a problem. And so everybody is winning by getting you over the hump of just building, Wix website duplicates in WordPress and putting it into the realm of being able to actually generate revenue from the websites that you build. So if that is something that you are interested in doing, this is actually what we teach at DoubleStack. So we've got a course on this type of thing where you don't have to be a coder, you don't have to even be a WordPress guru to get started. We'll show you exactly what tools to use, where to host, how what the whole thing, and you'll be able to build e-commerce sites and online stores and memberships and subscriptions, and this whole email marketing thing that we just talked about is covered in there. So if that's something that's interesting to you, head over to doublestack.net and schedule a call, and you can talk to either me or one of our instructors, and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. So, but the bottom line here is whether whether you call me or not, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is, if you want to make money building WordPress sites, you have to get past the level of where you're just spinning up a site, like what Wix or whatever is good at. You need to be able to connect the dots and be able to do e-commerce and email marketing, and you have to be able to connect to the people like we were just talking about, where the fancy term for it is segmentation. But it basically just means you begin to put people in different categories based on what you know about them already, so that you're not sending brownie recipes to diabetics, and you're not sending cake to gluten-free people. So you're being able to learn what people want, what aspect of the business that of your business they're interested in, and how can you send them the right information at the right time. And when you're doing all of that, you're doing so much more than just putting pages on the internet. And in fact, you're even doing more than even driving traffic to the pages on the internet. You're actually connecting with people. You're learning what they want. They're learning who you are. You're developing this relationship that's going to end up being a win-win for everybody involved. A win for you, a win for your clients, a win for your clients' customers. So that area of the WordPress market is absolutely not shrinking. I mean, there's people crushing it in that area. So anyway, so that's all I had to say about this topic, and I totally appreciate you guys joining me for this, and I will see you again. We're going to try to do these talks on Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. So we're going to do it twice a week, Tuesdays and Thursdays at 2 p.m. And again, if you have any questions or want to make some comments about this video, go ahead and post them below, and I'll be keeping an eye on that and answering some questions. Even if you're not watching live, even if it's a replay or something, go ahead and post a comment, and we can keep talking about this. And then the last thing is, if you want to get email notifications, you can head over to doublestack.net, sign up for the email list over there, and I'll send out video replays as well. So awesome talking to you guys, and I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday, 2 o'clock. Thanks so much, guys.